Do you have a growing website that's slowing down because traffic is just too much for it? Well, you may want to consider load balancing. That's what we'll be talking about in this video. Otherwise, you might end up in a situation like this. Hi, I'm Matt with Schematical, and I help businesses and other organizations scale their web applications and products upward so they can handle a lot of traffic coming from all those awesome users and customers buying your product. Today, we're talking about load balancing. That means distributing the traffic that's coming into your website across many servers. So that way you can scale horizontally instead of just booting up bigger and bigger servers. This gives you a virtually unlimited amount of scalability to your website. It's never that simple, but let me give you a demonstration. By the way, if you haven't checked out my first video on virtualization of servers and hosting, you may want to check that out first. Because remember, all the little drawings you see on the screen, they're virtual, but I draw them as real because, I don't know, it's more fun that way. I can do a lot more with that than just two colors. So let's get into it. So let's say you've got a virtual server. It's your primary hosting for your website. It takes in requests and spits out responses back to the end user, usually in the form of HTML, JSON, CSS, etc. As the user browses, more requests are made and more responses are sent back out. As time goes on, more users join the site and decide, hey, this is a cool site, I'm going to start using it. So the traffic increases, of course, and the load on the server quickly escalates. This puts a lot of load on your server, more load than one server can handle typically. You'll need to do something quick, otherwise you're going to end up with a server outage and unhappy customers. Except that one actually looked pretty surly to begin with. So what can you do? Hop back up in your chair and boot up a couple more servers. But how does traffic know to go from the users to those other servers? What we need is a load balancer. The load balancer knows all of the servers that are capable of handling these requests, and so it takes the traffic and routes them accordingly. It doesn't do any real processing, just forwards them on and forwards the responses back to the users. This allows you to distribute traffic evenly across multiple servers to share the load. Another problem you may not have thought about is what happens when a user uploads a photo or any piece of information. It gets saved to one server, but how does it get pulled up by another server if the traffic gets routed to another server? Well, the answer is it doesn't, not just normally. You've got to do something extra. Otherwise, your users get angry. One solution you can do is to boot up another dedicated database server. Now, that middle layer becomes what we call the application layer. That's where all the business logic lives, and it's the intelligent part, but it has no memory. The database becomes the memory. So files get uploaded, they get saved to the database, and then when you go to retrieve them, they get pulled back up from the database. Any processing or security to make sure the right people have access to the right stuff is done in the application layer. I'd like to make a quick note here. Some of you guys that are more technical are going to yell at me because I used a diagram that has a database in it for what clearly was a binary image of a cat. One, I use the cat because it's funny, but two, don't store binary images in a relational database, MySQL, or anything like that, okay? Put them in some type of CDN, S3, CloudFront, those type of things, okay? Don't put it in MySQL. Don't store binary data of any significant amount of size in a relational database, please. All right, back to the show. So you may be asking, hey, now that you've got a single DB booted up, why is that not a single point of failure? Well, it still can be. There are a lot of different solutions out there, but one of the simplest is to just boot up what we call readers. So there's one master writer that gets written to, and then it tells the readers, hey, this is the data I've got. Then if other people go to ask for that data, they can query the reader databases. This takes the load off the writer database and allows the queries to be run on the reader databases, therefore spreading out the total load. So that's just one way to do it. There's also sharding, and that's a funny word, and a bunch of other ways to replicate data across data storage or use load balancing. But this is just one simple way, hopefully, you can take back to your company and use to communicate better with your technical and non-technical people. By the way, feel free to share this video and use it to communicate to a client if you need to, or to the C-level suite, or if you're in the C-level, back to the developers. I mean, this material is here for you to use. Additionally, if you have any questions on how to scale your tech empire, at least from a technical sense, not necessarily a business sense, then feel free to leave that question in the comments, or any comments. It all helps with the algorithm. So I look forward to doing more of these in the series. Again, check out Virtualization 101, and I believe the next ones that are coming up are on microservices and a couple other interesting topics, maybe some diagrams I use to communicate. But yeah, I really appreciate you watching. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Have a great day. I need an outro. I don't have one. Adios.